Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It really does depend on where you're listening to me from around the world. This is JFI Radio Live. I'm Józefa Fawcett, your host, and I'm broadcasting to you around the world live from here in the UK. So thank you so much for joining me. Some of you are coming back every week. Some of you are listening to the replays. Either way, thank you for your ongoing support. I really, really appreciate it. Now, if this is your first time with me this week, let me tell you a little bit about JFI Radio and what it is and why I'm doing it. Well, I'm a practitioner in the field of professional and organisational learning and excellence. And I've been doing this for a very long time. And I now want to share some of my expertise, my stories, my musings, and live news from around the world. Now, my professional areas have sort of grown extensively over the years, but I tend to focus on things like lifelong learning, open education and OER, which is open educational resources, AI in education and training, management, leadership, quality, and excellence. And each week, I prepare for you for this broadcast a range of different stories, different things I've been up to during the week that I think you might be interested, because I'm just rambling for 30 to 40 minutes each week, and those of you that like to listen to my ramblings, you're very welcome. I also look at some of the news stories that are being featured from around the globe. I'm looking for things to do with those professional areas, but things that you might not have seen before. And so I'm bringing a little bit of the professional learning development world to you, a tiny bit closer to you each and every Friday morning. Now, because this is live, there will be bloopers, there will be things. I try my best to be pitch perfect, but sometimes that isn't always possible. Now, when you're doing podcasts and you are recording, of course, you can edit out all the bloopers so that you sound seamless all the way through. That isn't what you're going to get from me here on the live broadcast, and I can feel the tickle coming in my throat again already. If I need to cough, I'm afraid I'm going to cough. There's no way I'm editing that out. If I get my head jumbled up with some of the things that I want to say to you, then I'm afraid that jumble's going to come out of my mouth as well. But you know what? I'm going to do my best to keep on point as best I can. Someone said to me a long time ago, striving for perfection is an imperfection in itself. Yeah. Striving for perfection is an imperfection in itself. I'm going to keep with that just in case there are some bloopers along the way. Now, the news items that I source for you come from all over the world, from different publications, from different broadcasts. And if I whet your appetite to learn more, then all of the links to the original sources for the full news items are on my website. Let me just change the ticker, because those of you that know that I am there we are, that's the one I want. Let me just change that. Those of you that know me know that I'm doing all the back end of sound engineering and broadcasting and producing all in one package, this one package. So I've changed the ticker, and it says at the bottom, go to my main JFI Radio website for news report links. So the site is jfiradio.com. Scroll down, you'll see a big blue button. Press on that, it says replays and news links, and you can find out more. Now, the other thing you can also do, let me do the other ticker. That's the one I want. Actually, this is a caption. There you go. If you want to share with me some of your own news, or you want to bring me some world news to do with my areas that I haven't mentioned and you think should be broadcast to the world, then write to me. As you can see on the screen, it says studio@jfiradio.com. I'm just checking my live feed in Facebook and in LinkedIn. I'm live. That's good. You can see. And by the way, that's really useful because if you're listening to me on YouTube, then go to the live tab, type something into the comments, and it will appear on my dashboard here. I'll see it light up, and then I will be able to bring in your thoughts, your ideas, your questions, or just say hi to you. So please use that. If you're on Facebook, then you can use just the normal comments section underneath my live. And if you go to Facebook, you'll see that there's a great big red live that says I'm here. The same on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn hasn't quite synced itself up yet with my live broadcasting platform. So any comments you make there, I won't see live, but I promise you I will reply to them much, much later. So let me change that ticker again. Just in case you're joining a little bit late, I'm broadcasting live and I'm Józefa Fawcett. So what on earth have I been up to all week? Because that's where I usually start with my program. Where have I been up to? What have I been doing? Well, I have been delivering a lot of training this week. I've been training for 3 consecutive days. The first day was in person in London. The second 2 days were online. And I've also been nursing a really, it's coming. Hold on, hold on. I'm so sorry. I've been nursing a really nasty head cold. I have to say to you, I was quite pleased to be working from home the latter half of the week, but delivering training, whether it's online or in person, when you've got a head cold, you're sneezing, and you've got a cough, it's really difficult. You might have heard me last live broadcast coughing my way through the live, and it didn't get any better. It got a lot worse, actually. This is the best it has been all week. So fingers crossed I get through today relatively okay. Now, the other thing that I've been doing is really exciting is I've been working with my lovely colleague Nkechi over in Port Harcourt in Nigeria. And thanks to the wonders of the internet, we've been working regularly online in my private virtual office. And we're developing some really exciting ideas for lifelong learning and CPD. Now, a little tiny bit more about that perhaps over the next couple of weeks or so, because we will be ready to announce our developments. But it does involve a little bit of podcasting again. I've created uh, a little baby sister to JFI Radio Live called Podcast Pearls. Again, if you're on my website, jfiradio.com, you can scroll down to the very, very bottom and you can see the introductory film that I've made and get an idea about what Podcast Pearls are going to be about. So, more of that to follow. Now, each broadcast, I tend to pick a topic that I would really like to talk to you about. And then there's usually 2 topics and separated by the global news. So the first topic I want to talk to you about today is, well, and it's something that's been coming up in my training sessions all this week and for the last 3-4 months, is about better understanding our relationship with digital information and, of course, AI. So I am regularly posting articles now on a platform called Medium. And yes, again, on my website, I will, around this particular episode, this broadcast, I will post the link so that you can understand what I've been posting. So this particular article that I posted is called Dirty Windows. And I chose that particular metaphor because it's really relevant to what I wanted to say about the internet, about the way that we see the world through the internet, the way that we cope with the plethora of information that's online, and just to remind ourselves about the misinformation and the biases, particularly from AI generated content. It really does prevent us from seeing the truth clearly. And like any window, oh, I'm sorry, that's the cough going. Hold on a moment. Oh, I did wonder how long it would be before I needed to take a huge swig of water. Um, as I said, I'm going to try and get through today as best I can and not cough too much into the microphone. Um, where was my head? Where was my head? Yes, yeah, the dirty windows bit and the keeping it clean. Well, excuse me. Like any window that you need to clean regularly, we need to clean both our minds and our feeds online and look at and question and examine the kind of information that we're receiving through various digital channels. And this has never been more crucial now than it is, particularly in education as well. A lot of my colleagues are still working in higher education, and this constant question about what do we do with students? How do we guide students? Do we put a policy in place? A bit more about that later. The article that I wrote just emphasizes the fact that it's becoming so much harder to distinguish between what is authentic and what's not. And in the article, I try to make it a little bit clearer about the difference between information and knowledge. And if you want to just oversimplify it, information is just the raw data. It's facts that are unprocessed. There's no context to them. There's little understanding to them. And our brains like to create understanding. Now, I got this from my wonderful friend. I talked about her last week, Dr. Linda Shaw, the eminent neuroscientist. And I always talk about her because I think her work is amazing. I think what she does and the way she explains the brain is amazing as well. I'm really struggling today, aren't I? Oh dear. Okay. So our brains create knowledge through our neural networks. Now, you see, if this wasn't live, if this was pre recorded, I would be editing out all of those coughs. But just now, I'm not going to be able to. So it's getting worse. So we're creating knowledge through our neural networks, particularly. You are wondering why I've come online. Do you know what? I'm wondering why I've come online as well, but there you go. So I'm talking about this connection through the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex. What it does is it Oh my goodness, hold on. Part of me thinks I ought to go away and come back again, but I'm not going to. I'm here. I've just got to run. Hold on. There it goes. Let it calm down. Breathe. Okay. So back to the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. What it does is it. Am I going to get through this part? organises information. Do you know what? This is probably going to be the worst podcast ever. Oh my goodness. I wonder what they do on BBC. Oh, I know what they do. I know what they do. The sound engineers, of which they have many, cut to some kind of break. They mute the microphone, they cut to some kind of break. They play adverts or something and give the presenter a chance to collect themselves. Well, I'm going to carry on as best I can. I'll have a break during the news. Hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, organizes information. That's what it does. It takes that basic raw data. It then connects it with any past experiences that you've had. Now, that's the human bit. And it applies reasoning and uses it to solve problems. So when you're getting this raw information, you can't take it as is, but an awful lot of students do. And we've got the AI systems, the most popular ones that people are using at the moment, the GBT, Claude, Gemini, Meta AI. They provide the information, but not the knowledge, because they don't have understanding, they don't have consciousness, they can't contextualize anything like humans do. What they can do, and do, is produce some really clever, sophisticated sounding responses when you pop in a prompt, but there's no understanding. So still need us. They still need us as humans to interpret and transform those outputs into meaningful knowledge. And this is where we can help students to learn how to use AI, not just to use it. And I think this is a really big issue for many people in further education, higher education. I'm going to say early years and schools as well. But, I think there's something even more important to do in that area. And I'm going to do a shout out to a lovely lady called Frederica Roberts. Now, Frederica, I'm not sure if you're listening to this because you're either in Luxembourg at the moment or you're teaching in Germany, because I know you get about a bit. But I would be really interested in hearing from you in a future episode some ideas about how school children are approaching the use of AI. Are teachers in that area? Because a lot of the things that you do are around well-being in schools, and obviously as a teacher, as a background for yourself, a professional background, you are well placed to do that, and you've written a number of books to support that, and you're doing your doctoral research at the moment around well-being and a number of other things. I would really be interested in getting some information from you that I can bring back to next week's show, because whereas we are looking very much at further education and higher education at the moment, I'm really intrigued as to how AI is landing in early years environments. And I think you might just be the woman to help us understand that. So, what can we do? Well, there are things that we can do with young adults and adults in education and adult learning, and that's develop some critical thinking skills, and look at our assessment methods in education that go beyond simple memorization, and teach students how to ask questions, teach them what effective questioning actually is, help educators design better questioning approaches, um, and keep that critical analysis stance with AI so that students can transform that raw information into knowledge, either through some human experiences or through reasoning. And I do believe that AI can create some particularly valuable inclusive learning environments. And it takes, if you like, a wider, more inclusive approach to learning, involving everyone, particularly neurodivergent learners, because it can emphasize curiosity and critical thinking over rote memorization. Now, probably because my throat won't hold up, but one of my big rants, not for now, I'll just give you a little taster, is about early e-learning, and I hate to say it, some current e-learning that's in the marketplace at the moment. It's totally dependent on rote memorization in the short term. With pass marks, if you don't get all the answers or you don't get 80%, to continue, it forces you back to the beginning again to read the same thing or watch the same videos and trying to kick in your rote memorization one more time till you get through it. That might have been fine decades ago. And I mean, this method doesn't seem to have changed with e-learning since I first entered this online learning world back in 2002. And we're still doing it that way? Maybe we need to look at instructional design again. Now, I know, not now, I'm going to have a lot more to say about that in another broadcast. And I'll build upon this initiative. And also something else that I've just become involved in from a networking group called TIN, which I will explain to you in my next broadcast next week, and connecting with people from all over the world. And it's being driven from Australia and is a fabulous group coming from the ICDE. And yeah, there's an initiative there that I think is going to really touch some real press points to do with instructional design, particularly with AI. Do you know what? I've talked about how easy it is to get caught up in the flood of information online. We need to be more critical thinkers. We need to question everything. Just don't take it all at face value. Teach our young people to be more discerning. Reflect on how challenging this is for them and for us and different educational landscapes, and just find some kind of balance between being open and aware of what's going on. And maybe educators out there, maybe it's time to step outside of traditional educational models. I don't know, sparking that curiosity in young adults is so exciting. And keeping that love for learning is really important. And they need to be able to thrive in the world that's coming, in the economic world that's coming. But we need to teach them not to accept everything and to move it on. Foster that love. Keep it enthusiastic. Keep them questioning. And let's just stop praising good memory and bell curve marking scores in e-learning and academia. It's not improving the way we grow or developing the skills that we need by future generations. The world is going to carry on being automated, so we need to do it slightly differently. Okay, well, I somehow got through that part. Without my throat completely going, but I feel it is on its way again. So you know what? That was my news first part of the show. How about the news from the rest of the world? Let's find out from the JFI Radio newsroom on Friday, the 1st of November, 2024. Enjoy.
You're listening to JFI Radio Live. Here's the latest training and learning news from around the globe.
From JFI Radio Newsroom, here are the latest global news headlines. North America. The University of California, San Diego makes climate change course mandatory training required by all undergraduates from 2025. This course, Climate Change Science, Impacts and Solutions, covers climate science, policy and mitigation strategies. Chancellor Pradeep Khosla aims to prepare students to address the most pressing issue of our time. This follows California's 2022 law requiring climate education in schools. Environmental advocates praise the move, citing its potential impact on future leaders. UCSD's 30,000 undergraduates will take the course as part of their general education requirements. South America. Antonio Martinez Aboleda, Professor of Open and Digital Education at the University of Leeds and Senior Lead for the Knowledge Equity Network, has been talking about the new digital political economy for universities in Latin America and the importance of relationships in university environments in the digital age. At a recent event organised by CALID, the Institute of Higher Education Quality in Distance Education of Latin America and the Caribbean, and Universidad Técnica Particular de Loya in Ecuador, he proposed to academic leaders and practitioners from Spanish-speaking America a vision for higher education, encouraging inter-institutional collaboration for economies of scale, co-creative research, equitable and flexible open partnerships, and innovation support space. Europe and the UK. A recent study published by the THE reveals students aren't relying on AI tools as heavily as academics thought. Only 12% of students use AI for assignments, mostly for basic tasks like proofreading. The study, surveying 1,000 students and 500 academics, shows educators overestimate AI's impact. 70% of academics believed AI would significantly change teaching, but student usage is more muted. Experts suggest institutions should integrate AI into curriculum design and teaching practices, rather than focusing solely on cheating concerns. This could harness AI's potential to enhance learning outcomes. Africa. West and Central African countries are taking steps towards implementing the 2019 UNESCO Recommendation on Open Educational Resources. Regional workshops facilitated by UNESCO aim to raise awareness and equip governments with the knowledge to utilize OER effectively. The focus is on fostering equitable access to quality education through openly licensed educational materials and technology. Workshops emphasize the importance of OER in achieving sustainable development within the region and signifies a crucial step towards establishing open and inclusive knowledge societies, ultimately supporting the region's progress towards the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Asia. Turkey's Ministry of National Education has launched craft workshops for middle school students to explore basic vocational skills. As part of the skill development program, starting from the 7th grade, students can attend vocational high schools for free in 10 provinces across 196 schools. The initiative aims to introduce young learners to a variety of vocational skills, helping them explore potential career paths and make informed decisions. By providing hands-on experience and practical knowledge, students will develop valuable skills, break down traditional stereotypes, and expand their career horizons, giving them the skills needed to succeed in the 21st century workforce. The Middle East. Google launches MENA's largest digital skills initiative in the Middle East and North Africa region. The program aims to train 10 million people in digital skills by 2025. The initiative, worth $20 million, will focus on enhancing employability, entrepreneurship, and online safety. Google will partner with local organisations to provide training in areas such as data analytics, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence. The programme will also support women and youth in underserved communities. Australia and New Zealand. And finally, Australia unveils National Skills Passport Initiative. The government has taken a significant step towards fostering lifelong learning by launching a consultation for a national skills passport. This initiative aims to provide Australians with a portable record of their skills and qualifications, regardless of where they were acquired. The National Skills Passport will streamline the recognition of skills, making it easier for individuals to transition between jobs, industries, and even countries. The government is currently in the process of developing a business case and consulting with stakeholders to determine the scope and implementation of the passport. That's been your Global Weekly News Roundup. Please come back and join me next week. And welcome back. Thank you very much. I have taken a number of glasses of water while the news was on, and I hope that my voice is going to recover sufficiently for me to be able to finish the show. I hope you enjoyed the news. I thought it was really, really interesting this particular time. I'm just looking at the dashboard and I have to put this up. I think this is fantastic. My lovely colleague Nkechi that I was talking about earlier is watching live from the golf course in Port Harcourt in Nigeria. Now that, I have to say, is quite a feat. And I want to thank you for doing that. There's not many people that can say that someone is listening from the golf course over in Nigeria. Okay, I'm just going to change the ticker. Nkechi, thank you. I hope you're having a good round of golf. I think there's a tournament going on today. So good luck. Good luck on the golf course. So remember, if you want to pick up the links to the news that I mentioned, then please go to jfiradio.com, scroll down, big blue button. You will find the links and you can find out a little bit more. If you want to send me your news, then please send it to studio@jfiradio.com. The other thing just to share with you quickly that you might be interested in is I have been doing this for an incredibly long time. Since 2015, in fact, I was one of the very first podcasters. So if you want to listen to any of my back episodes, back episodes, you can go to Spotify. I started doing lives in 2015, and then I moved towards doing on location podcasts from around the world as I traveled around doing my businesses. And then I went to fully pre-recorded and beautifully edited with no coughing involved. If you want to listen to some of those back episodes, some are short, some are long, go to Spotify, tinyurl.com/JFIR-Spotify, and I hope that you enjoy them. Okay, what am I going to talk to you about now? Well, it's a strange topic and one that I think is going to grow in popularity in terms of discussion, and that is workplace loneliness. I've been talking about this a lot in my 3 training courses this week, and I pulled up some figures from Statista UK. And obviously, the breakdown between people working at home only, people who only travel into work because some jobs require that, and hybrid working has shifted quite considerably since 2020. And if we remember, 2020 was right in the middle of the COVID time and the lockdown. So, of course, the statistics are going to be skewed slightly because of that. So, back in 2020, if I tell you that 28% of the people, the working public in the UK, according to Statista, and there's a link on the website, was 28%. Those that travelled in were only 47%, and hybrid working was 9%. And as I said, it was indicative of the time and the fact that it was during COVID. Over the years, that's changed. So for the work from home in 2021 went from 28% to 15%, because suddenly offices were open again, and people were going back into offices, and that's reflected by the fact that more people were travelling in. However, the number of hybrid workers jumped up from 9% in 2020 to 17% in 21, 25% in 22, 31% in 23, and we're now at 27% in 2024, hybrid working. The travel into work has stayed pretty stable, because there are jobs that can't be done from home at all or in a hybrid fashion. So that's pretty at a pretty normal average of between 41 and 46%. At the moment, it's 41% people that are traveling into work. But if you look at work at home only and hybrid working together in 2024, they are at the highest of 41%, adding those two together. Obviously, the gap that takes you to 100, the people that are not working at all. So in general, this hybrid working is definitely becoming more popular than fully remote working. And the research that Statista did said that most UK workers enjoyed flexible working. They liked the work-life balance, and the 41% who went into work said the others that are working from home and doing hybrid actually making their commute to work that much easier with less crowding on public transport. So, despite all of this, we have to look at what it feels like to work from home. So, I've worked from home for 22 years now for myself. And then in between that, I take myself off to clients around the world. And I have done that, apart from during the COVID time, on the regular for the best part of the 22 years. So I suppose I've never really felt overly lonely. However, a lot of people do. And this came up in all of my management training that I've been delivering this week about managing hybrid teams, about what team leaders need to think about, and how it must feel for someone who only works remotely with a geographically dispersed team that they don't actually know. They only see them on camera. And of course, that on camera depends on whether somebody wants to put their camera on. It depends on whether the camera is showing them. I have a real bugbear about webcams that only show your forehead and all of the ceiling. And all it needs is an adjustment of the lid of the laptop to make it different. But people sometimes don't want to be seen online as well. So there's a lot here wrapped up in this issue about loneliness, and working from home and loneliness in the workplace. Because guess what? You can be lonely in the workplace itself. You don't have to be at home, because remote working isn't the primary cause of loneliness. And of course, part-time workers have understood this for years because they're so out of the loop regarding communication. People forget part-timers. I have worked part-time in the past, and people forget we exist. So communication is just assumed that we know what's going on, but we miss the nuances of what's being discussed in the workplace. And okay, look, don't get me wrong, putting people on Zoom and Teams doesn't prevent loneliness. There's so much more to it. And it's not we're being more needy. I mean, lonely people, lonely employees aren't necessarily needier. It affects everyone, regardless of how they feel personally or their social needs. Um, the context matters significantly, and it really remote working for operational managers, team leaders, it really presents a lot of very unique challenges. It's hard to build trust. This is some of the stuff that I was training some groups Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It is difficult to build trust because you're building trust with somebody on the other side of the screen that you may never have met in person. It really affects that sense of community. And when people are working from home or in a hybrid fashion, the boundaries between work and personal life, they get blurred. And when you become overly reliant on digital communication, you forget some of the human nuances. I mean, this thing lately, and everybody smiles when I'm talking about this in training sessions, is this demand for instant responses to messages that come on WhatsApp or Teams or Zoom, particularly when you've put you're out of office, you're in a meeting, you're not available to answer, and yet people insist on sending messages to you and then follow it up with, I haven't heard from you. No, because I'm in a meeting. And guess what? It says I'm in a meeting. So we can become overly reliant on digital communication. And there are a lot of things that organizations need to do. They really need to take a sort of health check to assess the degree of the problem of workplace loneliness. Probably the surveys and things need to be anonymous, otherwise, people are not going to answer honestly. There's still a stigma around accepting or acknowledging that you feel lonely in the workplace. The other thing is that when people organize their work schedules and when managers are organizing work schedules, build in some kind of slack into the schedules to allow for some kind of social connection, whether that's at work or hybrid. We are just too busy being busy. Now, I know that relates to staffing levels. Hopefully, that's the only one this second half. I know it's to do with staffing levels to prevent overwork, but we have to look at how we connect with people, creating that lovely culture of connection with support, with inclusion. And yes, we can use tech tools to collaborate, but just giving people time to do that social bonding, that interaction. And yes, sometimes there's a lot of toxicity in the workplace, and that can undermine any kind of personal interaction and authentic behavior. And we need to look at being authentic and innovative in the way we do meetings. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have a lunch break. And when I do my training sessions, particularly online, I'm always emphasizing to my groups, don't be tempted to go back to work and look at your emails during the lunch break. Enjoy that time. Because guess what? Learning is working. Let me say that again. That is so important. Write it down if you need to. Focus on it if you need to. Learning is working. It's not having some time off, it's working. But on the back of that, maybe the odd lunch meeting or a walking meeting. I've just started working on a temporary contract over at the College of Esports in East London, in Stratford, and our campus is in the Queen Elizabeth Stadium, the Olympic Stadium, the Velodrome. And so whereas I can't go down to the velodrome itself, in the upper steps and seating area, I can walk round the velodrome. I can get a bit of exercise, which my family will love. But I could have a walking meeting. Now, I have to say, I'm going to have to learn to walk and talk at the same time and not get out of breath, but that's a me issue. But a walking meeting might be really useful to do. Just set some boundaries and expectations and think creatively, and don't do them just once, do them as part of the norm. And you might need to tailor approaches for different people, in person, remote workers, have them on the phone, walk along, talk on the phone. You know those kind of things, but just keep it simple. Make it accessible to everybody, make it equitable, inclusive. Think about your remote workers, think about your part-timers, think about trying to bring in a culture where reflection time and mind space is not frowned upon, and encourage to people to talk about how they feel if they really are lonely at work and what we can do about it. I just thought I'd share that with you. I thought it was such an interesting topic. I'm just looking to see if there are any comments. And Ketchy, that's probably because you're taking a drive or two on the golf course. And if you're listening to this afterwards, and follow up, then pop something in the chat and I will follow up with you. Maybe not live, but after the event. We can always do that. I hope I've given you something to think about. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for bearing with me as I have struggled through this. Let me tell you that the next broadcast is on the 8th of November at 9 a.m. As ever, please visit my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. I am over halfway to my target of 100 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the year. Anything you can do to help me with that would be very much appreciated. I want to thank you all so much. I am going to play the outro now. I'm going to say, have a fabulous weekend. And yeah, please, I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you all so very much. Bye.